Welcome to Paw Print Academy, your blueprint to raising better dogs. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your host for this journey. I've got my trusty co-host here, Brianna.
Hello.
And together we're bringing you real-world training insights built on leadership, structure, and proven methods. We record this podcast with live clients on the line in one take with live, unscripted questions and answers. At the end of the day, this podcast is a lot more than just teaching your dog to sit or stay. It's about building trust, creating calmness, and becoming the kind of leader your dog truly needs. We do that with our 3-pillar method of trust, obey, and perform. Together, we'll show you how these 3 pillars shape every step of training. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. Hey there, episode 17. We are on a roll. That's not the name of the episode, though. Drop it and leave it. Stopping resource guarding early. That is the goal tonight.
Yeah.
Resource guarding.
Yeah.
And resource guarding's tricky.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, a couple of news items before we start. So we are in the process of trying to incorporate video into the podcast. And that would be a lot easier if I had any idea what I was doing, but I don't. So it's a constant work in progress. And as you may see little clips surface, and eventually we'll be able to upload like the whole thing to YouTube. And eventually I would love to get it like going live, and I have kind of like a little video board thing that I'm trying to incorporate, trying to figure out, but I'm not the best at this. So I would love feedback. I have a very thick skin, and as you hear things, see things, or otherwise that are top dog training related or the Paw Print Academy related, please, by all means, I am always open for suggestions. So please let us know what we're doing right and wrong. All right. So for tonight, we're talking about drop it and leave it. 2 really, really important commands to not to stop resource guarding in its tracks, really, because once you have resource guarders, it gets real complicated.
Yeah.
There are a whole bunch of cues and timing issues and variables and reasons why a dog learns resource guarding. Resource guarding is not typically, but it is, let me back up for a second. There are parts of it that some dogs are genetically predisposed to be more likely to be resource guarders.
Yep.
However, it's almost always learned. I'm not going to say it's almost always. It is always learned. It's just some dogs pick it up faster than others.
Right.
No dog is born guarding their resources.
Yeah.
It's always a learned behavior. Mm-hmm. And so teaching your dog leave it and drop it early can help to neutralize that, and also not reverse the process, but prevent it.
Yeah.
Right. We can really help to prevent it and slow the process down, especially even in those genetically predisposed dogs.
Right. And just kind of like reduce the conflict between you and the dog.
Right. And we're going to do that tonight in the same way that we kind of break down everything, every call that we do for our clients. We've got clients listening in right now, and we'll open it up for questions. Anyone who's dialed in or listening in, if you're in the Zoom app, you can just chat. You can open up the little chat and throw a question in there. I'll answer it as we go. And if not, if you're just dialed in like on the phone, then we'll give you a chance towards the end to ask any questions that you have. So let me open that little chat guy. Cool. I am ready. So tonight, our main core idea behind the episode tonight is drop it and leave it. the commands, they build trust in the dog, because it's a process where you're temporarily taking away something from the dog.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're showing them that that's not threatening.
Yeah.
So it builds trust, it builds safety, because the dog is not going to be like, hey, why are you taking that away from me? Once it's trained.
Yeah.
And then it builds really good, clear communication between you and your dog. The two commands, drop it and leave it, can help you prevent conflict. It can help you prevent resource guarding.
Mm-hmm.
And it teaches your dogs how to disengage from objects calmly and in a more relaxed environment.
Yeah.
Rather than, oh my goodness, I just lost something of value.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an important distinction. So early clarity prevents serious behavior later.
Yep.
Behavior issues later.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's talk about it. So why, if that description doesn't explain why they matter, then I think you missed the boat. So just rewind, listen to it again.
Yeah.
But let's break it down further. So drop it and leave it. They prevent that conflict because we reduce the risk of the dog feeling a sort of like a loss.
Right.
By teaching the dogs to disengage on cue, rather than waiting for the dog to just get tired of something of value.
Yeah. And showing them that giving up an item or losing something is still valuable.
Say that again. I'm sorry. I'm
Asking them to give up an item or leave an item is still of value.
right. Because we can train that. We can use that and then reward them for giving something up.
Yeah, because if you think you're just going to ask your dog to leave something and not give them something in return, then you're not motivating the dog to leave something alone.
Right. And I think a lot of people, this one's good. I think that a lot of people miss the boat early on because they're thinking about the end state too early. Mm-hmm. And dog training really goes in phases, right? You can't expect, if your thought process on this is, well, I want my dog to just willingly give this thing up that they find very valuable because I said so, that's a fine end state to have. Mm-hmm. But that's not how it starts.
Right.
And that's really, really important, is it's not how it starts.
Yeah.
It starts by rewarding the dog and giving them something of more value. Mm-hmm. Because I've broken this down a couple of times now, but if you ask your dog to let go of a $50 item, you better have $60 worth of something to give them.
Right.
At the beginning, when you're first trying to teach them this. Otherwise, maybe like if you're offering $50 worth of treat for a $50 item, they might be like, well, I actually really like the color of this one better, right? Like if they're equal, what's the reason why they really want to trade?
Right, and that doesn't mean that you're trading the dog like in a crisis when they're holding like your most valuable like piece of jewelry or shoes or whatever it is in your house.
Of course.
It means during your sessions when you're working on this, because they don't just know how to do it in that moment.
Right.
Then you're practicing with those rewards.
Right, so because if you are expecting them to drop it or leave it without teaching them what it is and teaching them the value of it, and then you're expecting them to do it with something that is valuable to you, well, then you're already behind the power curve.
Yep.
So we're going to focus so that this podcast doesn't go for 3 or 4 hours. We're going to focus in on how we're going to train it and how we're going to start with the dog. And you can use both your imagination and your experience with your individual dog to build on it from there. So Resource guarding often starts with small victories at the dog's level, right? Where the dog is able to either scare someone or something away, or they're able to punk someone or something, right?
Right.
They're like, ha, get away from me. And then because they won in that little situation, they were able to keep that resource. That's a reinforcing event.
Right. But does it even start with like aggression, or does it start with like the dog just being able to keep something away from you a lot of the time at like a little tiny level? Right. So if you're trying to get something away from the dog, even if it's a toy, and the dog just starts with the catch me if you can game, is that where it starts to some degree? And I think that's where it kind of goes with what type of dog do you have from there, whether it keeps being a playful little game or whether it kind of transpires into something different.
Yeah. I think that I think resource guarding starts at the point where the dog takes ownership of a thing.
Yeah.
Of a resource. But the resource, so I guess let's define all the terms. A resource can be anything that the dog finds valuable.
Yeah.
And we've dealt with dogs that they are guarding toys, food, water, shelter, or like their crate or kennel. Humans,
space.
A love, affection, space.
Rooms, couches, beds.
Right. Whatever it is that the dog finds valuable or desires in that moment can be the resource. And that's why we call it resource guarding rather than couch guarding or crate guarding or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've defined that. And I think 100% really by the definition of what resource guarding is it starts at the point where a dog sees an item that they want and decide to, in the slightest capacity, keep it for themselves or reduce the likelihood of someone taking it away, right? They have decided this is mine, or at least is mine in the short term. I want this. Don't take it. At that point, it can be really cute because it could just be a puppy grabbing a sock and running around with it. Now, that doesn't mean that just because your puppy grabs your sock and runs around with it and doesn't bring it back right away, that, oh my goodness, I've got to hire a professional dog trainer because he's resource guarding. No. But what we're saying is that those little decisions, that's where it starts.
Right. And I think a lot of times, like, I immediately go to the thought of people trying to teach their dog how to play fetch, but not on a leash or anything. And so the dog learns really quickly, because they don't know how to fetch it and bring it back to you, that they can just keep the ball and then run away from you. And that starts off like a catch me if you can game immediately. Right. And it either stays...
all dogs' favorite games.
Right. And it either stays fun and gets more annoying for you, or it turns kind of sour and the dog is like, oh, well, I kept it away one time. I'll figure out how to keep something away again.
And it becomes self-rewarding.
Yeah.
Right. And at the point where the dog is rewarding themselves for keeping something away, you are on the downslope, because now the dog's just rewarding themselves. And the more that they keep it away, the more they win, the more they want to do it.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of circles on itself. All right. Another reason that, let me go back and stay on track here. So teaching a dog to surrender items early in their life is going to help prevent escalation into those more guarding behaviors when the game kind of stops and it starts to become a little more serious. So let's go back to the puppy example. We are not saying that you can't play catch me if you can. And we're not saying that you can't play with a dog who grabbed a sock and it's super cute and you're having a great time. What we're saying is that those decisions if left unchecked, begin to grow into more decisions.
Yeah.
And those bigger decisions can sometimes, as the dog goes through their maturity levels, sometimes they can then be like, I'm a pretty big dog now.
Right.
Yeah.
We
do this with Dexter all the time. Dexter is our Dutch Shepherd. He's like 100 pounds now. And he's not quite that big, but he's a big boy. Mm-hmm. And he does this all the time. He's just got that working dog mind where he's like, Dad, I know you've always been in charge, but I'm a pretty big man now. Like, I think I might be able to run this place.
Right.
Right. And then he like tests things and you're like, gosh darn it, get back here. Yeah. So when those happen and the dog inevitably kind of pushes those boundaries and we don't check them there, that's when they grow.
Yep.
And then they grow and grow and grow until eventually you're like, whoa, how did we get here? Mm-hmm. How did we get to the point where my dog's showing teeth at me? Well, that's just them communicating.
Yeah.
It's not always aggressive. It's not even the dog being like, I'm going to bite you. Right. A lot of times it's just the dog being like, no, this is mine.
Yeah.
It's the same way they correct another dog. Mm-hmm. Same way they communicate with another dog. They don't communicate verbally. They're not going to speak to another dog. Yeah. They show their teeth. They put their hackles up. They look at the dog sideways, right? And like they give them that whale eye. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of ways that dogs communicate just through their body language.
Right. Ear positions. I always go to like checkers and one of the little dogs we're working with now, it's like you can see like when they're uncomfortable, their ears kind of like point outwards and like go halfway back. Yeah. But like you see Nala and people always think like she's unhappy because she like as soon as you start petting her, she like flattens her ears all the way back. Mm. But she's not upset. She's just like, yeah, I love that. That feels nice.
Yeah. So leave it, the command leave it, prevents fixation on dangerous or off-limit items. And ideally, it allows you a opportunity to prevent the dog from getting to that off-limits area, item, or whatever prior to them either reaching them or taking ownership of them.
Oh, yeah, because if you say leave it and the dog gets it, it's like you're backwards.
Exactly. And so if you have a successful leave it command, even if the dog was going to, in another dimension here, the dog was going to develop resource guarding, if you were able to control that by preventing the dog from creating a ownership mindset over that item because you can disengage the dog, you can prevent that resource guarding. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at my notes here real quick. So we want to start building cues, and we want to build those cues in order to build trust in the dog's mind that giving up those items first in the training session leads to a positive outcome. Mm-hmm. And so that's where those cues come into play. So I want to be like, leave it, dog leaves it, and then boom, throwing, or let me back up, and boom, I'm rewarding the dog.
Yeah.
So that the dog is getting something of value mm-hmm. that builds the repetition and the decision in their mind that leave it is a positive opportunity.
Right. And then working with drop it, you work a lot of the times, we work with play with drop, because that's where you can kind of always start with the dog, where it's safe for the dog to have something that they can drop. But I think where people go wrong without knowing is you ask them to drop it, and then when you're teaching that, it's super important to immediately give it back to the dog as soon as they drop it.
Yeah.
Not making them wait because they've done what you asked. You immediately give it back. That's their reward for dropping it, is getting to do it again.
And that's what we're going to, in just a couple minutes, we're going to break down exactly my favorite way, and we'll talk about your favorite ways of of actually teaching this. But right now we're just setting up all of the value for why is this important to you. And the last one that really goes along with that is that we want to build emotional neutrality to the act of giving something up, because that's really where that resource guarding part comes from. The guarding comes from the emotional attachment the dog has to the value in their item, whether that's food, a toy, a water bowl, a person, the couch, the bed, whatever. When they're like, oh, I have this already, you're going to take it from me, and I'm going to lose this. That's where that comes from. And so if we can build early on in the dog's life, we can show them that they can be emotionally neutral to losing an object, because another very valuable object is going to come right behind it. We can reduce the likelihood that we ever get those resource guarders. All right. I'm going to go right into it because we've set this up. Now let's talk about how we do it. So teaching the drop it without conflict or destruction in the house. When we teach drop it, and I'll try to frame drop it first, and then we'll talk about leave it. So when I teach drop it, I like to teach it in the middle of play. And so the very first step, I lay out in usually the very first private lesson that we do with clients. I lay out a game called, we just call it the Get It Free game. This is a game where I'm patterning the get it command, and then I'm tossing like a treat or a reward or a piece of food or something across the floor. The dog runs to get it. As soon as they get the treat, I'm cueing free, which is our terminal reward marker. At that point, they ran away from me. They got the food, and then I'm giving them free. They turn around and they zoom right back to me, and then they get another treat. Mm-hmm. So you get a treat on both sides. That is how I'm going to start patterning eventually to incorporate like fetch. Mm-hmm. Because fetch, the game fetch, is how I'm going to initially work with drop it. Yep. So the get it game allows me to do a couple of different things. One, I'm patterning, pushing the dog away from me with value. Because when you first start training, what you'll find is that that dog is going to zero in on you because you are the one who's continually giving them treats. And sending a dog away from you on command is one of the most difficult things to train a dog to do, because the more that you train, the more value they perceive in you. It's hard for them to be like, why would I want to go away from you? So that get it free game is a great opportunity to start patterning that movement away from you. Mm-hmm. All right. So we do that as a foundation. Then first step, we build value in the free. We charge up that marker so that I can always have that terminal reward marker. That's how I'm going to then reward to drop it later. Mm-hmm. The get it part is what I'm patterning in order to send the dog. And it's also the part that I'm going to replace with leave it later. So now, second step, I'm going to adjust the game a little bit. I'm going to teach the leave it by one of two ways. I'm going to describe one, and Bree has another way that she likes to do it. So what I like to do for leave it, and I know I said I was going to pattern the drop it, but this is all kind of meshed together, so just bear with me. The way that I'm going to pattern leave it is I put the dog on the leash. I'm going to take a treat, or something, and I'm going to calmly, I'm not going to zing it because movement creates value. So I'm just going to kind of drop the treat on the ground or off to the side just a little bit, and I'm going to pattern that leave it cue. When the dog tries to get it, I'm just going to hold them. I'm not correcting them on the leash. I'm just going to hold them in that same spot. Mm-hmm. So as they go to get it, they turn on pressure on the leash. And as they relax, the pressure automatically turns off. Mm-hmm. At the point where they leave it, I reward with a terminal marker, free, and then offer them the reward in the opposite direction of the treat that I had dropped. And then as they get that treat, I reach down and I pick up the other treat. What this does is it keeps the dog from ever getting the treat that I said, leave it to.
Yeah.
That's really important because at the point where they get the treat that you say, leave it, you go back 5 or 6 steps.
Yep.
What's the other one that you use?
For leave it?
Yeah.
I think it's the same method. I think it's just rewarding at me versus like on the ground.
Yep.
Just because I try, especially for dogs that are really scent driven, rewarding on the ground, they get lost in the ground after they get their reward. Mm-hmm. And even though you've picked it up on the other side, a lot of times if they're really scent driven and they like to sniff, they're going to just go check over there anyways. And then you're losing their attention for a little bit longer.
Nice.
So just rewarding at me versus on the ground.
Gotcha. But still opposite in like an opposite direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Still in an opposite direction.
What you told them to leave.
Yep.
Nice. Okay. So that's how we initially pattern the leave it. Then as you get it more and more brilliant in those, we always want to be brilliant in the basics. So we make sure we have that foundation. Then I can add in the leave it just like the get it free game, but instead of get it, I'm leave it. Mm-hmm. And if the dog chases that treat that you zing, then they turn the pressure on. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times you'll see that they don't even go for it because they've already patterned this, right? They're like, oh, cool. That's a leave it. That's a leave it treat. Got it. Okay. I just got to wait. I just got to be patient. And then there's a free treat.
Yep.
At that point, you've broken through.
Yeah.
So now you've patterned leave it. And then you can start doing it with a toy. You can do it with a favorite toy. You can do it with something else of value, right? And now you're going, leave it. And then when they do, free, make them fly back to you, go in the opposite direction. And then the most important thing is you just don't let them ever get what they're supposed to leave. Mm-hmm. I think that's really important. There are some trainers that just pattern the leave it off of, they pattern it based on, I just want you to leave it temporarily and then I'll let you have it.
Right.
And I don't like that. I think that that is much easier to explain to clients to just teach a dog wait.
Right. Yeah.
Use a different cue. And the reason I say that is because there are some things, I think it's really, really important to have a cue that tells the dog that they are not allowed to ever have that. Because what if it is a rattlesnake? What if it's a live electrical wire outside in the yard or in the park or somewhere where you're walking? Mm-hmm. What if it's another dog or a rabid raccoon or something, right? Mm-hmm. What if it is something that is dangerous for the dog?
Yeah.
You can't just tell the dog that, hey, I want you to leave this alone for like a little while. You need the dog to leave that for good.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think leave it should be a permanence type marker.
Yep.
You can follow that. Once you've trained that, you can change the word to a wait or any other word, right? Dogs don't speak English. but give the dog a wait and teach them, cool, wait means just be patient. You're going to get it in a minute.
Yeah.
Because that's how we can do it, like with their food bowl. Mm-hmm. Wait, free. And then they get their food.
Yep.
I have no problem with that. But I think that you need a leave it command that is no fail. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason why we teach it that way. Okay. So we talked about the leave it. Let's add in here. Now drop it. So at the point where I've trained all of these pieces up to this point, now I can pattern this with a toy. And what I can do is I can throw the toy, right? And I can alternate between leave it and get it with the toy. And as they get it, I give them free. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. So I give them free and they fly back to me. 9 times out of 10, it will be with the toy.
Yeah.
Because that has value.
Yep.
And as they're coming back towards you, I can do a 1-for-1 swap with the treat. Mm-hmm. Because they're already patterned to come back and grab the treat. And what dogs will more than likely do is they'll run back with the toy, and I don't have to change a thing. I don't have to add any cues. I don't have to add any pressure. I don't have to change anything. And I offer them that treat, and they drop what they had, and they go for the treat.
Yep.
And as that happens, I know there's a lot of steps here. This is dog training, right? So as that happens and they go to drop it, I'm watching that. And as they do it, I hit them with the drop it cue.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, I start naming the actual behavior as they're doing it. Mm-hmm. So get it, throw the ball. They run out there, they grab the ball, free. They run back to me. I offer them the treat. I watch them as they go to, or as they approach me, right? They get in that mm-hmm. closer proximity. Then they're starting to open their mouth. I know they're going to drop the ball. I go, drop it, and then offer them the treat. Mm-hmm. That starts to pattern the cue at the right appropriate time.
Yeah.
Once we've patterned that, what I want to do is I want to re-engage them quickly. Mm-hmm. This is the golden egg here, because they just drop something of value, and that's not going to be permanent, right? They dropped it in order to get something else. What you need to do is you need to retrieve it, and you need to make it come alive again and go right back into the next repetition. Mm-hmm. Because they need to see that, hey, just because I dropped this thing of value doesn't mean that it's gone forever.
Yeah.
It's just how we play the game. Mm-hmm. You re-engage them and you start all over. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now let's talk about another way to do this. My favorite way to reinforce drop it is after I've done those things. My favorite way is to reinforce it with tug, because tug is a heck of a fun game for dogs when they've learned it and when you do it the right way. Mm-hmm. So we want to play tug. We need to do a whole podcast episode on just play. But when we play tug, we want the toy to come alive. And the way that we make it come alive is through movement, and through movement away from them. One of the number one mistakes people make is they take this tug toy and then they shove it in the dog's face and they're like, get it, come on, get it. And the dog's like, whoa, this is uncomfortable. You got to do the opposite. Mm-hmm. You got to get it. You have to get it and then be like, ha ha ha, here. And it goes away from them. Mm-hmm. And that's how you get that dog to ramp up, because we got to turn on prey drive.
Yep.
We got to turn on that fun, chase it, I've got to catch it game. Because remember, that's dog's number one favorite game. Catch me if you can.
Right.
You got to switch it up on them.
Yeah.
All right. So we engage them with that. They latch on. We're playing, we're tugging, we're having fun. I'm certain that there's some people listening. They're like, oh, my dog won't play tug. Okay, cool. Well, there's some ways that you can get them in there. That's not really the purpose of this podcast. But hit me up offline and we can discuss it. I'll give you some tips on that. So dog latches onto the tug. Now I'm playing. I'm moving around, and I'm also using my voice, and I'm engaging them. I'm like, yeah, good job. And then I cue drop and freeze. The reason I do that is because, one, I've already patterned the drop it. Mm-hmm. So they kind of understand it, but now is where we really make the breakthrough. And at the point where I'm encouraging them and pulling them around and we're having all this fun, and then suddenly I'm like, drop it, and I freeze, they're probably going to keep tugging on it for a minute, right? They're tug. Right? Cool. I just hold strong and don't move. And what ends up happening is the dog's like, oh, why did the toy die? Mm-hmm. Why did this die? What's different? Oh, all of a sudden this changed. And then they start paying attention to the word, and they're like, oh, I'm supposed to do something here.
Yeah.
At the point where so now you hold it in place, and if they just won't drop it, that's where you reach and you introduce another reward of high value, and you trade them. Mm-hmm. And as you trade them, they let go, you give them that treat, and you immediately give them free. And now the reward is that tug.
Yep.
So free. And they grab the toy again. And, oh, good job. Oh, we're having so much fun. Drop it. And I freeze. Mm-hmm. It only takes a couple of times for the dog to go, oh, if I let go of this, then the game starts again.
Right. Yep.
And at the point where the dog realizes that drop it, the faster that they drop it, the faster the game starts again. You're golden.
Yeah.
At that point, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the dog's like, yeah, tell me to drop it. Tell me to drop it.
Yeah.
Because the reinitializing of the game is more fun than the continuation of the game. Mm-hmm. Because there's anticipation.
Right. Yep. They're excited to do it.
Yeah. All right. So a couple of top tips here. So when we say drop it, say it once. Say it once, say it loud for the people in the back. And then just pause. Let your dog have a chance to actually process and make a decision to drop it.
Yeah.
So many times is the reason the dog doesn't do what you say to do is because in every other decision that the dog makes throughout the day, you've decided for the dog what they're going to do and when they're going to do it, and you never let them practice making the decision.
Right. Or you've told them 12 times, and so on the 12th time, they've decided to do it. But by the 12th time, you've given them body language and everything else. So
right.
That's helped.
Yep. So anytime we can prioritize letting the dog make the right decision, we have to do that.
Yeah.
Give the dog a moment to process, think about, and decide to do the right thing. And you will be amazed at how much better the dog listens on all the different things.
There's 2 dogs that I'm working with right now, and the stare-offs that we have sometimes are intense. And they'd be awkward if it were a human. But It's just me and the dog, so it's not as awkward. Nice. But sometimes we just stare at each other, but I'm giving them an opportunity to think through what I asked them to do and give them that chance to do it.
Yeah. Another tip, reward away from the object, right? So what we don't want to do is rip the object away and make the object come alive. Mm-hmm. The other thing we don't want to do is rip the object away and then try to distract the dog with something else of value while you still have the other valuable thing and they're very close together, right? Because that builds confusion. So instead, right, at the point where they drop something, maybe you put your foot on it. Maybe you just, let it lay on the ground and you reward the dog away from it.
Yeah.
Then you scoop that thing up and you re-engage the game. Mm-hmm. Another one, avoid kind of what I just said, but avoid pulling the object out of the dog's mouth because that's going to really ramp up that drive.
Right. And I think we've talked about toys for a little bit, but like in the last comment was like re-engage the dog, right? But treating the dog away from whatever you're taking, if it's not something of
right.
play value.
If it's not something that you can like re-engage the dog with.
Then you're just rewarding the dog away from that item so that you can pick the item up.
Yeah.
And then also with the pulling out of its mouth, right? We always, you see all these videos of just like people like pulling shoes and towels and things that dogs pick up just like out of the dog's mouth. And I always try to tell my clients and people, it's like, just walk the dog away from the item.
Yep. All right. So let's give an example of that. Dexter's another really good example of this. So Dexter loves to go and grab the dog towels. We have a lot of dogs going in and out of the house sometimes, right? And sometimes it rains. And so you've got kind of this like pile of, your not as nice towels down there in the corner. And Dexter loves, especially first thing in the morning, he is ramped up, ready to go, choosing violence first thing in the morning. And he runs over and grabs a towel out of that thing and just bunches it all up and then just prances around with it, right? Loves to have the towel. Now, we have never played with him with that towel. So nothing happens because there's never any like satisfying event that becomes around this towel. Instead, he grabs the towel, he goes on a little lap, I stand by the door, and I wait. Then he comes over to me, right? I put a hand on his collar, on just like his flat collar that he normally wears, and I don't put any pressure on it. I just hold it. Now I've taken away the ability for him to run around, right? I waited until he approached me. I've grabbed the collar, and now I just say, drop it. We use aus, which is the German drop it. And then I wait. He drops it, and then I open the door for him to go outside. But that is a process that has been built by him understanding that I can't go outside with the towel, and I actually want both. So now instead of me using a treat to give him to release the towel, it's simply the freedom of going outside. Well, you can't take the towel out there, so drop it. He drops it. Cool. Go outside.
Yep.
That is an example. Another example, real quick. We've had clients talk about like TV remotes. That's been a thing. So TV remote, why would a dog go after a TV remote in the first place? Because that is an object that the dog sees us interact with. And so they perceive value in it.
Yep.
It's not because the TV remote ever like did anything for them. They're just like, oh, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
I want this. Now, initially, the first time the dog goes and gets it, there's no value really there anyway. But the dog created that value because when they get it, everything stops in the house and everyone chases the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least suddenly the dog goes up like 3 or 4 levels in importance.
Yeah.
Because you're like, whoa, wait, no, don't grab that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to lower the value. And the only way to do that, even though it's something that you're like, please don't destroy this, you have to show the dog that there's nothing valuable there.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. And so you got to stay calm. You've got to redirect the dog. And in this case, I'd go to the door and be like, cool, let's go.
Yep.
Let's go outside.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. You want to go for a walk? You want to do this? You want to do that? Whatever it is. But I'm going to redirect that dog's energy until they get close enough that I can get a hold of them. Right? My dogs wear flat collars. So that's just an easy grab. And then now you have control that dog's not going to go anywhere. And now you can just be patient. You can be like, nope, drop. And at the point where they drop it, you throw a huge party.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just go, all right, now that crisis is over. How dare you? I can't believe that you grabbed that. Don't you ever grab that again. You can't do that.
Yep.
Because even that negative attention is still a rise in your arousal levels in the terms and the view of the dog. And you reinforced how important that remote was.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and we've seen that with replace the remote with anything, right?
Yeah.
Slippers, shoes. Shoes are a big one.
Yeah.
Pillows, blankets. You know, it's almost always things that we find valuable.
Yeah.
It's rarely like, oh, the dog went over there and grabbed that encyclopedia with all the dust on it off of the bookcase, right? They
Right.
didn't do that. You know why? Because they didn't even know it existed over there because you never look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's always the things that are valuable that the dog goes after, but that's because they've watched you.
Yeah.
They're just laying over there, just watching you, figuring out what is valuable and what's not.
Yeah.
All right. I think we have crushed that.
Yep.
So let's talk about the last point. So let's kind of put it all together. So teaching leave it prevents dangerous choices. And now let's put this together with the guarding parts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. By teaching leave it early on and patterning it, you've built value in the command. You've built value in the cue. And you've redirected value of things that the dog found valuable in the first place. But you've shown them that it's not just the value of the object, but it's the value of the relationship that they have with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cool, you drop it and you get a party.
Yeah.
You drop it and then suddenly mom and dad want to play with you.
Mm-hmm.
So often we don't do that. We don't follow through. And so it's like, cool, I dropped it and then nothing happened. They just walked away.
Yeah.
And at that point, they're like, well, I'm never dropping that again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did not win here.
I didn't win. Yeah, there was no excitement.
Yep.
So keep that in mind. Don't miss the boat there.
Right, and it's not just like the first few times, right? You have to build that over time with your dog. You can't just do it a few times, do it for a week. You can't even just do it for a month. You have to just make it a repetitive thing that you're showing your dog every time. They can trust that you have the same response and the same stability in what you're doing and asking them to do.
Yeah. So where we want to go with this is we want to start introducing leave it with the get it and the chase it type behaviors, because that's where you're most likely to actually use it. You're most likely to use a leave it, a no-fail leave it, when the dog either gets something of value that they're not supposed to have, or they're chasing something.
Yep.
So remember that we always tell everyone that you will be far more successful teaching the dog what to do rather than what not to do. And more often than not, when a dog is chasing something, people go into immediate panic and no, we're not going to do that. No, don't do that. No. And it's like, you're fighting an uphill battle, right? One, in the middle or the heat of the chase, it is too late to get the training in. Mm-hmm. Has to be done beforehand.
Yeah.
Two, you need to always be prepared and have a strategy and an out for when something unexpected like that happens. Mm-hmm. Three, you have to, prior to that event, you have to build value in some other behavior that involves them returning to you.
Yeah.
And it's not just recall. Mm-hmm. But by patterning leave it with a huge reward and a huge party, you now have the option of disengaging a dog from something else of value in order to achieve something that they perceive valuable. Mm-hmm. Instead of just, cool, leave that $100 bill over there and just come over here.
Yeah.
For nothing.
For nothing. For free.
Yeah, for free. Right? Even humans will be like, no, hold on a second. I'm going to get the $100 first.
Right. We don't like to do stuff for free.
No. So without motivation, the dog's not going to listen. Even a competition trained dog isn't going to listen without value. It's just the value changes with the more training that you put in.
Yep.
So now the dog finds value in the anticipation of the reward, or they find value in the relationship that they have with you, or they find value in how excited you are when they do the right thing. Those things add up to the amount of motivation that they need in order to come back from something highly distracting. But by itself, forget about it.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
Nope.
All right. Let's go through a couple of questions. So we talked about the early signs of some resource guarding. What are some early signs that are good news, right? That show that the dog understands disengagement?
I think early on, it's responding to the free and coming back to you. That's a really big one. If your dog isn't recognizing or coming back to you at a fast pace, then they're not understanding that the reward is there when they get back to you.
Yeah. So one pitfall to watch for is, right, the dog that just merrily trots back versus the dog that's like, yeah, I want to get over there.
Yeah.
That can be a telltale sign that you're missing out on the motivation side. Mm-hmm. Not all dogs are going to just run full tilt for a piece of free-dried salmon.
Yeah.
We love using salmon. Mm-hmm. And we have a couple of dogs that will jump through jagged glass windows for salmon.
Yeah.
And other dogs are like, okay.
Yeah.
This is all right. So the reward's not always going to be the same. You got to find what your dog is motivated by. Mm-hmm. But the things that we look for, that we are on the right track, is when you can break the dog's concentration off of an event.
Yeah.
So first, start with something that the dog kind of likes and break their attention. Just their attention without even movement. Then get them to come back to you rather than get it. Mm-hmm. Then add movement to the item of relative, average value. Add some movement to it. Zing that sucker across the room. And then call them back. And then finally add in, some other item that's of like even higher value.
Mm-hmm.
And then just build from there.
Yep.
That's what you need to do. Let me look. Why is leave it considered one of the most important safety skills? This one's pretty easy because of cars.
Right.
That's where I go to immediately, right? Dogs that are off leash and inevitably they don't look both ways. They're just like kids, right? They don't look both ways. And if they are chasing a rabbit, a fox, a squirrel, whatever, they don't care about anything else. And unfortunately, we see it all the time on Facebook of dogs that, unfortunately, or because we live by kind of a big highway, they get hit by cars. And so leave it is the basis for strengthening the recall.
Yeah.
Right. Recall is important. We talked about recall, but in a previous episode. But leave it is the part that disengages the dog from something, even just temporarily, so that then your recall has a better chance.
Mm-hmm.
And the follow-on to that is the reason why leave it is so important is because there's dangerous stuff out there, that there's other dogs that will attack your dog. There are snakes. There are, I don't know.
I always think of like you dropping like human food in the kitchen that dogs can't have that are
cool.
dangerous
I was
to
going
dogs.
like way high up with that, but yeah, that's also a good one, right? Let's go to more normal things.
Everyday life.
Right. Yeah. Name a couple.
That was the only one I had.
Okay, so food.
Dropping medications.
Right. You have a kid at home and they spill, beverages, or they drop food that maybe the dog's not even supposed to have. Maybe they have an allergy to it. Maybe it's a toxic food to dogs. All of those things are reasons why leave it would be super important. Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of owners on that food trend, a lot of owners are like, oh, well, when I'm finished with my food, I just like toss the other bits like on the ground. Mm-hmm. Well, when you're doing that, you're patterning the dog to just get those because you're not even using really a command for it.
Right. And whatever's on the ground is the dog's.
Right. And then that goes back into this whole other thing. So if you're going to do that, make sure that you're using some sort of weight type command so that you have control over that situation.
Yeah.
Rather than just allowing the dog to impulsively get it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I've got listener projects coming up here. I'm going to unmute the Zoom call here and set up my little Jeopardy music. If we have anybody with questions or things that either we talked about or stuff that's going on with your dog that kind of relates to the leave it and stuff, now is your chance to unmute and ask away. See if I can get my Jeopardy music on here. Does anybody who is listening have any questions? Got it.
Ryan.
Hey, Therese.
Hey. Is it okay to talk?
Yep, absolutely. I'll turn the music down for you.
As you know, Hiroshi's learned like the leave it and take it command every time he eats. Now with that leave it, he's expecting to get a reward usually afterwards, which is he gets his food.
Yep.
Should I try to reverse that then?
No. At the point where you've already trained that, maybe use a different command for your no fail, like you can't have this and we'll never get it.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, right, dogs don't speak English, and it's not even worth trying to restructure that if he's already doing really well with that. is I know that you specifically work with him a lot. You work with him on like every meal with that. And so I would just keep what you've got. And then I'm struggling to think up another word right now. What's another one
I didn't think of any words, but you can use like,
I was thinking too, I couldn't think of, that's actually, you know what, that works.
Yeah. So usually we use like no for different things with the dog, but you could just come up with a different frame of mind for that and just use like,
Right. It can be a sound. It can be a word. I mean, you can literally teach him that banana is the word that means like he can't have it.
Okay.
Right. And so I would do the same thing that we were talking about, right? So I know that I know that when he went through our program, he learned leave it was, he doesn't get this. Inadvertently, we may have like taught him kind of both. And so it's not a real big deal. I would, where you have commands that are absolute and then conditional, will always error right down to the conditional level. So I don't think it would be fair to, at the point where he's learned that like leave it is conditional and is just like timeline based. You're going to tell him that he can have it eventually. I wouldn't bother trying to restructure his leave it command to mean that it is absolute. I would just transfer to another command and do the same process, but when you say that other word or that other command or that other sound, whatever you decide, he never gets it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Cool.
Yeah. Thanks.
Of course. Anybody else have a question?
Hello, Ryan. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Hi. So I have a question for the leave it part. So Bubba is still, as you know, very energetic.
Yeah.
He goes in the kitchen and we tell him like leave it, but he would stop for like a second and then he would go back doing what he wants to do. And as you know, he's very food driven. So even if he leaves it and get out and I give him a treat, he's good for like a millisecond. Then
I gotcha.
He goes back.
So for him, so it's going to be important, right? We're talking about a 5-month-old puppy. And so when we're talking about, a young dog, we're going to want to teach him that leave it on a leash. And that leash is going to give you the accountability to prevent him from getting whatever it is that you're talking about leaving.
Okay.
And so what is the object? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think we've got a little bit of a delay. But what is the object that he is not leaving in your example specifically?
More like shoes is one of his biggest things.
Okay.
That he loves to take our shoes and tear them apart. He does them for some reason. And then the second one, he just loves to go in the kitchen. And like the taps that we have on the kitchen, he just loves fighting over. And sometimes there's like food on, and like we're cooking in the kitchen, and I'm like afraid that he's gonna eat something else. It's dangerous for him, so like I'm trying to be calm, but I also freak out a bit.
Oh, dang it, we lost you.
But I think I can kind of answer some of that. So one, with puppies specifically, you're going to kind of want to keep a drag line on so you have some frame of control over the dog, right? So that the dog can't necessarily grab something and run away. So a drag line or like a leash is always kind of recommended, especially for 5-month-old puppies. That's still relatively young. So we will just buy like a super cheap, like flat leash from like the dollar store or wherever and cut the handle off so they don't get snagged on anything. And just let them drag that around. That way you have some control. Like if he gets the shoe, it's like, okay, let's go. And like, let's go outside, kind of that redirection Ryan was talking about. But you have a leash to where you can kind of show him where you want him to go. Because he's so young, he's not going to know all of those cues probably right off the bat. So giving him some body language and just picking up the leash and kind of redirecting will probably prevent him from, at least he'll either drop the shoe, which a lot of dogs do. If they think they're going somewhere, they're like, oh, I'll just leave this, then I don't care. Or it gives you the ability to then be able to get the shoe and then work on that trading. Because he's so young, you're definitely going to have to work through a lot of patterning that trading, where you're giving something of a higher value to him than what that shoe is worth.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then with the kitchen, I know like we usually teach boundaries like for our kitchen where it's like if the dog steps past the cabinet, it's like, nope, out. And we'll just kind of give them some pressure and walk towards them. And eventually the dog will learn like the cues to look for and the space to know that they can't like cross that boundary. Or if they do, then you just redirect them and give them like an out command is usually what I use for that, or go.
Yeah, I usually use that. And then he just runs out because I'm just like, no kitchen.
Yeah, and the more you do that, the more repetitions you get in with that, and your consistency of where he hits that line and you tell him to go, building that pattern. By the time he's like a year old, he'll be like, oh, okay, I'm not supposed to do that. But we always are like fair to the dog, right? And it's like, cool, they walk past the kitchen and it's like, no, go. Like our dog will want to come into the garage sometimes when I'm in there, and I want her to stay out. And she knows like now if she walks past there and I'm working in the garage, I tell her to go and she backs up to the door and she'll lay down like right inside. So just being really consistent with patterning that will help him by the time he's like a year really be consistent with it.
I will be sure to do that. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
of course. All right. I'll give it a couple of seconds here. Anybody else have a question? And then we'll go into listener projects. All right. Okay. Project number 1, the drop it, trade it game. So offer your dog a toy, allow light engagement, play with them, goof around, make it come alive, and then say drop it once and pause. Everything freezes. Trade calmly with a treat or something, right? A treat, trade him another toy, trade him something of value, but reward away from the object. Repeat, 5-10 times, use that calm energy and really reinforce the calm energy. Project number 2. The basic leave it drill. So place a low value item on the floor, maybe like some regular food or something like that, and ask the dog to leave it. Keep them on a leash so that you can enforce accountability in leaving it. This will backfire if you say leave it and then the dog is able to get to the food. That will backfire every time. So instead, keep them on a leash, and when they go for that food, it just increases. You hold your hand exactly where it is. You don't have to correct them or anything, but they'll turn the pressure on themselves. And when they feel that pressure, they know that, okay, something changed. When they yield to that pressure, that's when we reward. So when your dog looks away or backs off, mark with your yes or your free, and reward the dog in the opposite direction. If we're teaching a hard line, leave it, where the dog should not ever get that item, then I need to remember to then reach over and pick that low value item up so that they don't get it. Gradually increase the engagement with your dog by doing this repetitively. All right. That concludes our call for tonight. Thank you for dialing in and for listening and for downloading and for all of the support that we've gotten from the community. Super, super appreciative. Like I have said before, I am not a professional podcaster, not a videographer, not even a geologist. So I really, really would appreciate comments, constructive ones. I mean, I'll take whatever. I got a thick skin. But if you've got some ideas on how we could do this better or how we could do it more efficiently, I am all about it. But for tonight, we're going to say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night, guys. Thank you very much.